we are live at Movie Crap. Thank you, Jesus. I am so happy to be here, waiting for me to see myself, hear myself. Hope I'm not off sync, but it doesn't look like I'm going to be. And yes, hello! This is Movie... Oh, I can hear myself. You don't want to hear myself. I mean, you do, but we don't want to hear me twice. Sorry I said something about Jesus. Off to a stellar start, obviously. And thank you all, everyone who is watching. It's a Christmas miracle. Thank you, Ryan. Alright, I hope everybody... it's synced for everybody. It was problems again, but not problems too much. You in sync, boy. Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. That made me feel so good. I don't know why. Alright, it's been a crazy week. I have not come out with as much stuff because it's been holidays and work and family and all these things, but I am here now. And we're doing this, and I'm excited because there's a lot I actually want to talk about. I need some water. Only a little late. Let me just check one thing, and I think we're good on that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out to Movie Crap or Movie Crap Live because it's live and stuff. Look at all these things. I'm going to just get right into it. Did you ponder my question about petty reviews? I didn't as much as I probably should have, but I will ask me again towards the end. I'm sorry. Hey, Major Mekazawa. Hey, everybody. All right, let's start off. I don't think I have any big things. I guess this is the penultimate. I do have Red Bull. Red Bulls are here. Don't worry. This is the penultimate show, maybe. Ooh, possibly, probably. And I think that's everything, really. All right, let's just... I think you just want me to get into it and not talk about... I don't think there's any other nonsense. Oh, okay. There are a couple things. First off, that I myself on this channel are pretty much 100%, I'd say 80%, whatever, fan-supported, either through Super Chat on this or on Patreon. Check out my Patreon. It is in the links of this video if you're watching it later, which is most of you. And if you're watching it now live, then just go check that out somewhere. No, Movie Crap isn't ending just for the year, by the way, to clear that up. But yeah, I appreciate very much your support, and you make the show better, by the way, through your participation. So thank you all very much for all your past participation, and just to remind you of how this all works. As well as, and I didn't put it in the link, but I will put it in the description when this is up later, is if you are going to MomoCon and you want to let MomoCon know that you want pizza, that you're going for Pizza Party, use the link in my description for that, to let them know, so that they're like, oh hey, people came to see Pizza Party and we want to have them back, and we love going to MomoCon. So please do that. That will be in the description. It is not in it right now live, but it will be in it later, and if you're planning on going to MomoCon, please use that link to let them know. And I think that's everything. Alright, so here we go. I brought this up first because it just broke, and I feel like not a lot of people are talking about it. Maybe they are, and I've missed those discussions. But there's going to be a Power Rangers, a new Power Rangers reboot, with them time traveling to the 90s. Now, and it's presented by the director of The End of the Fucking World, which is a show I don't watch, but my wife watches. She seems to like. I don't know, but my main thing on this is I think it's actually a really good concept, because I think most of the people who, I guess, would take their kids are going to be probably more around my age. Not everyone, and I don't get upset. I don't think only 90s kids, the original iteration of Power Rangers, is all there is. There's clearly a lot more. And I think this is appealing to the kids who saw in 1994 or whenever it started... Ryan's probably like, we just made that video. How did you forget what year it started? But I remember it distinctly in 93, 94, around then. And with, that original 5 and then Tommy. And this would be a good way to kind of get into that kind of nostalgia. Now, I think one of the biggest problems with the first Power Rangers thing, or the whatever, the recent movie, was that it tried to kind of make like that 2000s X-Men, like dark and gritty comic book, a dark and gritty comic book version of it that kind of culture had moved past, which I kind of think didn't help it. I think what they need is to make a brightly colored kind of Marvel movie, and I think people would be really happy about that. I think people want that from a Power Rangers movie. So I think, I don't think the Power Rangers movie is bad. I just think like its kind of take was not really what's going on currently, and I think this is closer to that. It'll probably do well. It's a cool concept. I was like, I would see that movie, but I do think it kind of cuts it off where like Power Rangers was big. I mean, they were biggest when you had the thing. The Power Rangers were obviously biggest in that period in the 90s, but I understand the fandom is much more than that. And my only concern is that you're going to kind of cut off a huge part of that fandom, but I think they're sort of like, let's just have a hit. And it is true, I think people with kids who are kids who are 7, 8, and so forth, not everyone, but we're talking in large demographic groups here. Don't think I'm, being weird or anything. I think those people will be part of, kind of around my age who would have these kids who would grown up with it and are very nostalgic and would obviously go to that. So they're probably wanting to appeal to more to that group, but I do think if this is successful and the time travel thing, I don't think they should just do this group. I also am like, the Tommy thing is clearly the second movie. That would be I know that was the plan with the reboot, but I think that would be I think that would be a cool idea, but we'll see what they're doing. But I think it sounds like a cool concept, going back to the 90s Power Rangers, time traveling in the 90s and showing that show that everyone has a lot of nostalgia for. I think would be really cool. All right, we're going to do a bunch of kind of quick things, and then I'll get into kind of Golden Globe sort of things. First off, there's this big thing about The Matrix 4 and John Wick 4. Clearly someone got to 4 a lot faster. Coming out on the same day, May 21st, 2021, and Keanu Reeves fans are basically like, we'll see both, which I like their enthusiasm. Here's the thing. There is no way in hell that is actually going to go down. We are not going to get to May 21st, 2021, and both those movies are coming out. And I'm looking at you, John Wick 4, because you are moving. Now, John Wick is an interesting franchise in that most franchises have a time of year that they always come out in, much like Jumanji. Like it was a big deal when Star Wars moved away from summer to Christmas, like things like that. And John Wick, hold on, we have a super chat. Fun fact, the Emperor made Darth Vader... Hold on. Let me say that better. Thank you, Niji Kichu. I hope I'm saying your name right. You've never corrected me, but I assume I am. Fun fact, the Emperor made Darth Vader's suit out of inferior material. He also put a button on the suit to stop Vader's lungs and made it beep randomly. The Emperor is a troll, and that's fucked up. God damn. Wow. Opening the Red Bull. Cheers to you, Ninja Kichu. Oh, I sort of need that energy. It's been a long day, a part of a long week, so thank you for that. But yeah, so they're probably going to move John Wick 4. I don't know where. I also think it would be easier for Keanu Reeves to promote, but also would it? Because there's no way this will work. So they're going to do something with him. John Wick 4 is going to move. Matrix 4 is going to take that release date. Unless one of them, usually when you see these release dates get close together and you're like, there's no way that's going to work. They'll swallow each other up. One studio knows something about the other studio and knows that production is very delayed and that they're going to move. And they're just like placing the date because they can. But you will see that something is going to move. And I'm pretty sure it's John Wick 4 unless Matrix 4 has massive delays. But I'm fairly certain we're getting Matrix 4 on May 21st, 2021. The Sesame Street movie now has a date, or it moved and now has a different date, which is January 14th, 2022. I think this is mostly because of the success of the Paddington films. Also because I'm sure they're like not sure about it, and none of the Sesame Street movies were real massive hits, although I like Follow That Bird quite a bit. And I will get to all the kind of RIPs later in the show. I didn't want to like joke around because those are up with Caroll Spinney, so don't think I forgot. And other people as well. Yes, so that's coming out. The Sesame Street movie, not sure what it's called, is coming out on January 14th, 2022. Shazam 2 is going to come out on April... Is it April 1st? Did I write that down right? Well, okay. Let's just say April. I feel like I wrote that down wrong. April of 2022. It's apparently coming out like a week before Spider-Verse, and everyone, box office analysts, have all pretty much said... that's a terrible idea to open next to Spider-Verse. Although Shazam is very universally beloved, I don't think it's as beloved as Spider-Verse. So, and I don't think the anticipation's there. It's also coming out a couple months after Black Adam, which is also a little dicey. I'm a little surprised they're doing a Shazam tie-in movie. I mean, it's a separate thing with The Rock, and I'm sure it'll do very well. But doing movies for franchises so close together, I'm curious what they're thinking about that. But they are at least planning a Shazam movie in 2022. In other Warner Brothers kind of things, is the Akira remake is off the release calendar completely. Apparently there is no movement on it. There's no work being done on it after Taika Waititi left, which is probably the greatest thing he's ever done, because I don't want that movie to ever happen, and it doesn't look like right now it has any plans to. Warner Media has enough bigger things to worry about, and that seems to be what most people agree on. So thank God there is not going to be an Akira remake, as for the next couple years at least. So we finally avoided the Akira remake. You know, it looked like it was going to happen for a little bit. Now it's like, whew, thank God. Okay, I will talk. So there was a video, and Niji Kichu, I saw post this on Twitter, so kind of hinted, reminded me of this. Preach, Jim. Thank you, Austin. Oh, Austin, I have a thing for you. Oh, I'll drink the Red Bull to you. Thank you, Austin. I will, what's it? I'm talking about the catbird thing later, by the way. You reminded me, and then all that. First off, when The Lion King was a TV series. Second off, I bet Power Rangers Reboot is going to be freaking awful. And third off, boy, are there bad films so far in the 2010s. I mean, there are bad films, but anyway. Hi, Sudden Grinder. Anyway, Niji Kisha reminded me this through Twitter, just because you tweeted something. Anyway, so it's about Thundercats Roar. It looks like it is officially coming out in 2020, as well as Titans Got Talent, which that looks very bad. And Teen Titans vs. Teen Titans Go apparently is going to premiere on TV, which I could have told you. Which that seems to be the thing when they have the Cartoon Network things go on demand and digital and Blu-ray. They're like, well, let's repurpose it again and make even more money on TV, which to be honest makes sense to me. So those things look like they're going to happen. I think Thundercats Roar, it's been a while. Like, I'm surprised they released the development stuff so early. I think that was maybe a mistake, but I'm curious when that launches. I noticed most people who grew up with Thundercats in the 80s liked it, and most people who didn't and only watched the more serious show weren't as into it, so which is kind of an interesting split. But we'll see how that goes down when it premieres, or if anyone still cares about that stuff. One thing I'll talk about, there's a bunch of trailers. I'm going to talk about them throughout the show. Ghostbusters Afterlife. Here's the thing, I never really wanted any more Ghostbusters movies. Ghostbusters 2 wasn't really the greatest. You know, I see a lot of people posting about, or one person, is it Maggie Rabbit? I didn't see your picture from last time. You should post that somewhere. Maybe I missed it, but anyway, you should post that. Brings up the Akira manga, and I actually agree about the Akira manga. I've read several volumes of it a long time ago, but I actually think that would make a great TV show for HBO. Like, how that would be a great adaptation, and I don't think anyone would have a problem with it because it'd be so radically different, and it would still be could be true to the source material, and I think people would be down for it. I've been saying, I think I've said that on Pizza Party, but I think it would be a good idea. Anyway, back to Ghostbusters. So I've never really been that in love with the idea of a Ghostbusters sequel, so I've been a little more loose on them. I guess I am nostalgic and grew up with Ghostbusters and watching it when I was 5 years old and all that stuff. So I kind of don't. I wasn't that upset. I know this is Jason Reitman's kind of big studio kind of tentpole thing, and he was definitely in a place where like he either did this movie or his career sort of over. But I liked it. I thought it's a cool idea to have these kids not in New York, not in the same kind of city. I mean, I don't know what else is going to happen to them, and they kind of do a Force Awakens thing where they pitch the new kids rather than pitch the returning cast members, which will probably be the second trailer, and Venkman will be like, Dan Aykroyd, we're home, or something. I don't know what. It looked like we saw Slimer flying around there. I'm not sure, but I think it looks good. It looks kind of very Stranger Thingsy. Paul Rudd, having Generation X explain Ghostbusters to younger kids is like. This film looks like the Force Awakens Ghostbusters everyone wanted, where it's very much appealing to your nostalgia and giving you kind of this third adventure and all these things. And I'm like, all right, fine. It looks like it'll be a good movie. Jason Reitman is very good with characters, so I think I think this could be pretty good. But I like the trailer. It was fine. I'm sort of more into where this goes. It's sort of like, it's kind of like me going like, all right, I see you, cool. I'm a little more interested, but like not enough where I'm like, oh my God. I'm just more like, all right, cool, bro. Nice. That's about all you're getting from me on that one. So, I wanted to talk about, and I forgot to bring this up because I'm stupid, the Golden Globe nominations, and I will talk about the Lion King thing part of this, but I wanted to talk about the other stuff, and then obviously there's a lot to say about the Lion King thing, which is actually quite interesting. But first off, there's been a lot of controversy about the lack of female directors, especially after Natalie Portman said that thing like, tell some jokes. I mean, the trailer. Tell some jokes. Okay, an alligator walked into a bar, and the bartender was like, why the long face? And he was like, I'm an alligator. All right, so I have a super chat from Ty Hallett, who says, I didn't know Dan Aykroyd was in this picture. Apparently, yes, he is. Everyone but Rick Moranis, who said, I don't want to play characters I played 30 years ago. I think I told you that last week, but if I didn't, there you go. And thank you very much, Ty Hallett, for the super chat. Cheers to you. Okay, so, as I was saying, there was sort of a controversy about the lack of female directors, because Natalie Portman, like literally 2 years ago, said these are the best male directors, and there's been controversy about that. I'm not exactly sure why people have zeroed in on the Golden Globes, because they're not the most serious thing, but they are kind of a bigger award show in terms of they do steer Oscars more than people would like to admit, and they do help the conversation to a certain regard. However, I think I think it's more to do with, when we get to these award seasons, what most people consider like a major Oscar movie is sort of more male-centric, and thus why when you have a more female-directed film, from a female perspective, that, I think why Catherine Bigelow won is because Hurt Locker is from, I would say you can tell it's not a male director, but I think because that's appealing to more of a traditionally awardsy thing, like a war movie or something like that, and from a male protagonist. And so I have noticed like Little Women's not getting as many awards, but none of the Little Women movies got a ton of Oscars anyway, so that's honestly not as surprising as people think it is, and I don't think The Farewell is getting as much momentum as maybe it should. The big surprises were De Niro didn't get nominated for The Irishman. Doesn't look really good for him in terms of lead actor. Lupita Nyong'o should probably get nominated. Cats didn't get nominated. Of all the award shows, Golden Globes, come on. The big surprises were Rocket Man getting 2 nominations. Rocket Man is a pretty cool movie. You guys should check it out. The other thing is Dolomite. Dolomite Is My Name is picking up a lot of things. I'm actually really excited to see Eddie Murphy host SNL, partly because I don't think he's going to be either really great or really bad, and there's no in between. Like, or he'll just like leave halfway through. I'm very excited for that, and I'm not very excited for SNL usually. Todd Phillips getting nominated and Joker getting a ton of nominations. I guarantee you Joker's probably going to get a Best Picture. Best Actor is sort of in the bag. I think it's between him and I would say Adam Driver, but I think the thing that's working for Joaquin is that Joaquin has a body of work and has never got a Best Actor, and whether you like the Joker or not, he should have an Oscar at this point. He's like one of the... If you're talking about one of the best actors of the 2010s, Joaquin, I mean, between The Master, Her, You Were Never Really Here, and then he tops it off with Joker. Like, I'm not the biggest fan of that movie, but I think he deserves something for it. The other two things is Tom Hanks will be getting the Cecil B. DeMille Award. He's also nominated for Best Supporting Actor. And Todd Phillip... read the wrong part of the script there. Okay. Well, it's not a script, it's just a list of anyway. And Ellen DeGeneres will be getting the Carol Burnett Award, which is more their TV-focused legacy award as well. So, obviously, what you guys want to talk about is the thing... Oh, also, Jennifer... Sorry, hold on. Other things is, I like that Jennifer Lopez keeps getting nominated for Hustlers. I like Hustlers. It's a cool movie. I think it's underrated. I don't like Bombshell. Sorry, I'm scrolling through them. I don't really like the idea of Bombshell. So one of the things that's sort of interesting, sorry, I'm jumping around too much. I like Bong Joon-ho from Parasite was nominated. I thought that was cool. But so best animated film was Frozen 2, How to Train Your Dragon, The Hidden World, Missing Link, which is kind of a surprise to be honest with you, and Toy Story 4 and The Lion King. Not the one from 1994, the other one. Now, this seems to be sort of a thing because Disney does not really want to have The Lion King compete in animation because they have two animated films they're really pushing, which would be Toy Story 4 and Frozen 2. And let's not even bring up, well, I guess I will, Spies in Disguise, which they also own a third animation studio, which, by the way, they are not going to sell. If you research anything about that, they are determined to actually reorganize that and, that. And no, Klaus wasn't nominated, and that's ridiculous. Klaus should have been nominated. Netflix, between Klaus and I Lost My Body, I think deserves some more recognition, particularly what they're doing to promote different and interesting animation. But basically what happened here is Disney has not really been pushing the animation remakes with Aladdin and Lion King for Oscars too much. Apparently everyone who gets these screeners, I keep hearing on podcasts, are like, yeah, I sort of get like a really simple envelope with the DVD in it. They legally, contractually probably have to do that, but they're not really pushing it as much as, the other bigger movies, that they really want to win, like the Fox Searchlight stuff or something like that. But the Golden Globes are weird, and the Golden Globes basically told them, we're rejecting this for musical and comedy, which actually the original Lion King won musical or comedy at the Golden Globes. It won one of their best pictures. So, they basically said, no, we're not going to let it in there, but we'll put it in animation. Disney was like, please do not do that. And the Golden Globes like, well, that sucks because we're doing it anyway, and we're putting it in. Ha-ha, because we're the Golden Globes, and we're weird. And that's pretty much how it went down. The Disney is not really happy. I wouldn't be surprised if... I don't think they'll have any retribution. They're just like kind of pissed off about it. And there seems to be this whole thing that's like, Disney now has to deal with that it's animated. And I'm like, no, it's really not like Disney's like, oh shit, they figured us out. No, it's more of just like they embarrassed their relationships with their two other animation studios through the Hollywood foreign press. They basically made it very difficult for them because they're like, what the fuck? Like, we're going to split the vote and then Missing Link's going to win or something. I mean, come on. Or I could see How to Train Your Dragon 3 winning. But I think it's interesting that happened. I don't think it will win. It is going to make people think of... it is going to make people think of Lion King in terms of animation categories for other awards, which is not great. The other interesting thing when I was researching this is I found out the Golden Globes, which had Toy Story 2 and Lion King win Best Musical or Comedy back in the day, when they invented the Best Animation Animated Feature category, they made it a rule, and this is true, to not let animation and foreign film compete in Best Musical or Comedy or Best Best Drama Movie or whatever. And so it's basically like the Oscars don't actually have a rule that's like, hey, animated movies can't compete in Best Picture. I mean, it pretty much works out that way. Or Best Foreign Film or Best Documentary. They don't have a rule that says you can't. Like, it could happen technically. But at the Golden Globes, it actually can't. Parasite can get Best Director. It can, I don't think it get any acting nominations, but Awkwafina got an acting nomination under, I think, a category, but couldn't. The Farewell was nominated for Best Foreign Film. So the Golden Globes actually have it restricted, which is kind of bullshit. I mean, they have more Best Picture picture categories. And well, I guess they don't. Yeah. No, they do, because Oscars just says Best Picture, Best Documentary. No, they have the same amount. They have the same amount. Never mind. Because Oscars have Best Documentary, Best Foreign Film, Best Animated Film, and Best Picture. Golden Globes have musical or comedy, drama, foreign film, and Best Animated Film. So this is basically the Golden Globes being wacky. I do not get this hot take of, is The Lion King animated or not? Who cares? That movie is awful, and I hate it. Hold on, I have a super chat, which I should get to. Hi, Will. How's it going? Shocking that nobody's talking about the return of Steve Odenkirk with his thumb parodies? What? With an hour-long upcoming television release of Thumb Wars 9, The Thighs of Skyskyper? Skyskyper? Where? What channel, Will? What channel? I didn't know that. Is that the WB? Where is that? That's weird. Really? I don't know. Anyway, cheers to you, Will. Thank you for the super chat. I didn't know about that. That's interesting. I would watch that. Let me know when it's on. Maybe I'll review it. I've not reviewed the other ones, but I'll at least watch it. All right. Man, I used to watch Thumb Wars before it was cool. Oh, the CW. Ryan, thank you. Sorry. Anyway, so basically the thing with the Golden Globes that you should really find the most distressing is, like, who cares about Lion King, whether it's animated or not? It sucks. That's the end all be all. Look up what Pia Zadora is with the Golden Globes. End of story. They are very fraudulent. They are bought. The awards and nominations are bought from them. They're weird. I don't like them. But the point is that they have actually made it so animation and foreign film cannot compete against regular Hollywood films in those other categories, and that is bullshit, and that's what we should be talking about, not whether the Lion King's animated or not. Who gives a shit about that? Anyway, did Will say where the Thumb Wars was? If I missed that... Anyway, I am a Thumb Wars hipster. I don't care. I'm a Shrek hipster. I'm a Thumb Wars hipster. I kind of want to have like a big thing, and man, there's a lot of big things. I'm going to talk about Thumb Wars. Yeah, Will, where is it on? Did you say that? Am I missing it? He's probably said it a couple times by the time I see it in the chat. Anyway, I'm going to talk about Wonder Woman, and then we're going to go into the MPC studio closure thing. Oh my god, The Tourist. I forgot about that. All right, so Wonder Woman 1984, the trailer premiered at the big Brazilian comic book, or big Brazilian convention. I like the trailer. It's kind of just a like, hey, we have a oh, geez. Okay, hold on. Another super chat. This one from Niji Kichu. Oh, okay. Wow, we have... Okay, let me read one at a time. Super chat from Niji Kichu. Fun facts. Lucas and Spielberg bet each other where they share 2.5% of the profits of Star Wars and Close Encounters. Spielberg ended up grossing more money from Star Wars and then all his films combined so far. Spielberg ended up grossing more money from Star Wars than all... Really? Wow. Yeah, Star Wars is expensive. Okay. Got to go. About to watch Toonami event Vogue finale. Thank Hopkins Hat. All right. Let me do two. This is to you, Niji Kichu. That's interesting. That's interesting. But it's also probably because Lucas, they were all independent films, so he got more of a percentage of that gross, so that's probably why that happened. So anyway, Hopkins Hat, are you from Baltimore? I like that name. Anyway, here's to you, Niji Kichu. And here's to you, Hopkins Hat. Thank you for the super chat. All right. So, the Wonder Woman 1984 trailer was... Oh. I just realized I should have had my charger in. Ooh-hoo. Sorry about that. So, Wonder Woman 1984 premiered at the big Brazilian convention. It looked cool. I was into it. I'm a little confused how Steve Trevor is in it. This was actually a big trailer because my wife's really into Wonder Woman, and we watched it, and she was... by the way, Drake the Human, please don't spam too much. It's less because it's annoying and more because it could actually... There's a lot of problems with that in chatting and live streams, so I'm like... I'm not going to do anything to you, but YouTube has done things to people, so please don't do that. If you do it, I'll let it go for now. But if you keep doing it again, like I might just like do something just because I don't really want I don't want anything to happen to you, basically. But the Wonder Woman 1984 thing, it looks fine. It was more of like, hey, it's sort of like Ghostbusters Afterlife, where it's like, hey, this is a movie, and it's coming out, and it looked cool. We just kind of got like a proof. It's sort of like a proof of concept to me, I was sort of fine with it. It was fun. My wife was into it. We're all probably going to see it as a family. I didn't think it really got me like super excited. It was just more like, this is happening, and it's clearly they need a trailer out to do that over the Christmas season. It was interesting finding out what she said at the convention. Wonder Woman, what Patty Jenkins said is that Wonder Woman, she came up with the idea for Wonder Woman 2 when she was making 1, and she came up with the idea for Wonder Woman 3 when she was making 2. So she already has an idea for 3 and an Amazon's spinoff. And then she asked, why 1984? And I have a theory about this, is that most, I think because it's very female skewing, also, there's a book by George Orwell, but because it's more female skewing, I think women usually kind of, not to say all women like the 80s, but I think a lot of women like the 80s, and I think it makes sense. But Patty Jenkins had a better thing than like, we're appealing to a demographic, and I just went, what's the sweet spot? But Patty Jenkins says, why 1984? We wanted to bring Diana into the modern world, but the 80s is a period that Wonder Woman is quite synonymous with. I mean, sure. So it was great to see her there. But most importantly, it's sort of the height of Western civilization and the success of the world that we all live in the aftermath of now, which is sort of true, except for, AIDS was happening. So I don't know if it was... Anyway, so I was curious to collide our Wonder Woman into the height of our current modern belief system and what kind of villains came of that and see what happens. So it all came quite naturally, which is kind of, I think, an interesting take on it. It looks cool. I like all the 80s stuff. I am really, and Ryan brought this up in the chat, and I am really actually interested in, I should make people mods. I will learn. I'm not sure. Is there a way to do that? I will figure that out later. Anyway, sorry, I just want to keep talking, but they seem to have left at this point. Anyway, so if it happened, I will make someone a moderator maybe if this keeps happening. Anyway, thank you all for being so cool. It looks like, but yeah, Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. I'm very curious about that. They don't really show her off as that, and it kind of makes me think like the effects aren't done, because that is one of the things, and we'll probably get into the MPC studio shutdown, is that usually when you release a trailer, the special effects aren't done, and maybe they thought like, hey, we need a few more months to settle that, and they're probably also like, hey, that Cats trailer thing didn't work out so well. I think that a lot of people said, apparently, I've heard rumors that Warner Brothers looked at the Cats trailer nonsense. They're like, we don't need that for Wonder Woman, so we're just gonna chill on showing Cheetah. I don't know much about that character other than what I've seen in DC Superhero Girls, so I imagine she'll just be that. But it's a cool. I think Kristen Wiig could play it. I like what she's doing so far in it. She seems to fit quite naturally in it, and also that the Mandalorian's in it. I'm curious what he's doing. So it looks promising. I'm just very confused about Chris Pine being back. I sort of would have liked if she had a new male love interest in each one rather than having him back again. I thought I'm still like question. That's my biggest question, and I think that's everyone's. All right, so the MPC studio. The MPC shutting down in Vancouver. This became sort of a big story for some reason. I need some water first. But I'm not exactly sure why it became the story it was, because although apparently it shut down sort of without sort of about warning for a lot of people. To my understanding, it was kind of at a skeleton crew. It looked like it was kind of over for a couple weeks, according to people who work there. But it seemed to have been reported in a way by Cartoon Brew and other people as sort of like Disney's, their whole studio is shutting down. It's a big, the motion picture company, it's a big corporation, and they have many locations, and they're just shutting down this one. Now, they did work on Sonic the Hedgehog. I think was their Sonic the Hedgehog and Cats. They did not work on Lion King. That was their London division. And I'm not exactly sure why people felt the need to report this. So, Cartoon Brew reported the article's correct, but the way they summarized it sort of wasn't. I'm not exactly sure why people did that. It's so weird to me. Like, why would you report it that way? Why would you do that? What's the purpose of doing that? Like, these people lost their jobs right before Christmas. Like, isn't that painful enough? And, like, you're, like, fucking with it for some reason because you have this weird narrative. Like, I really don't understand why people are doing that, and I don't think it's appropriate. But I think that they, it was just weird. But yeah, the MPC studio shut down. It's sad. To my understanding, the Sonic the Hedgehog thing, like I was saying, how like a lot of times it takes a while for visual effects to not be done, and even when they're released in trailers, they're expected not to be fully done. If you've seen look at a trailer for a movie you like, and see it, see the movie, and you'll notice special effects aren't as well done as in the movie because they don't care as much about the trailer as the actual movie itself. And I think, from my understanding, the Sonic the Hedgehog thing was a little more work, but maybe not as much as Twitter and so forth has led people to believe. Not that I'm saying everyone had an easy time. Apparently it's like they still were going to have a lot of work. And that was all like kind of worked out. They just maybe had an extra week of work or something like that. It wasn't like a crazy, insane overtime schedule. Most like people like the Hollywood Reporter and all those people have actually disputed everyone on Twitter who's saying that and said like, we've talked to the people who are in charge, and almost all of them have said like, hey, that's not really what was going on. Like we sort of expected to be touching up special effects anyway. We had to do more than we thought, but that was kind of all there was. So, but regardless, it's sad that this is closing. I think Lion King wasn't involved in this. Sonic the Hedgehog was, but apparently it's more of a tax break thing, and they're just going to open a location in another studio. As for everyone who works there, apparently most of the people who worked on Sonic and Cats were kind of just temporary work, and a lot of them have either gotten other work or have moved on elsewhere or whatever they're doing. But I would like to hear, more of what is going on. There we go. I would like to hear. I would like to hear more from the people who work there on it, because to me it's like it's their business, not all of our business. So I would prefer that than like the kind of weird reporting we're doing currently. Anyway, so moving on. I think I covered that pretty well, right? A lot of stuff about Disney. It's okay, Jaden K. Anyway. Yeah. Okay. He should be. Anyway. Okay. Hold on. Sorry. All right. All right. So, basically, Disney has become the first studio to make $10 billion at the box office. And in fact, it actually that's $3.28 billion domestic, $6.7 billion international this year. They're the first studio to do it. You did just message me on the Thumb Wars. Hold on. There's a trailer out. It's definitely happening. The website said it'll be released on VOD. It'll be on VOD, everybody. But he said it. Oh, no one's sure when it's coming out. But when you know it's coming out, tweet me and we'll release it. I'll retweet it and let people know. But anyway, so this basically means that Disney has made more in 1 week than anyone. You can't spell Disney without Manila. That's funny, Nijikiju. That basically means that Disney has made more in 1 year than anyone ever has. Don't expect this to happen a lot, because Disney had a pretty unprecedented year in terms of their release slate. They're not going to have that this coming year, in 2020, and a lot of entertainment reporters have said that the main reason this is a crazy year in terms of release between some Frozen 2 and Star Wars and Endgame, and like you can't really do all those things in a year again. So I don't know if they'll reach this level of success anytime soon, but it's crazy they hit 10 billion before Star Wars came out. Also, if you count the Fox movies, it crosses them to 11 billion, which is also crazy. The other thing is Bob Iger apparently is going to be meeting with Martin Scorsese because this thing will never die. I'm still very cynical about this because I really think that Scorsese will end up doing something for Disney after they talk. But I also think, like, I get where Bob Iger's sort of coming from, because it's like he's the boss. He sees how much work they do. He's really proud of what he did with Black Panther, everything like that. And then he gets to, he hears like one of the biggest filmmakers who all of them admire talk shit about these movies. I can imagine, like, even though I don't think he's really fucking with their business, it's more of like, hey, man, you're like just upsetting my company. Like, what the fuck? Like, don't just shit on my employees. Like, and also what Martin Scorsese is doing, one of the things I really hate about this whole thing is every big auteur director does this. Like, I'm part of every stupid, like, cinephile Facebook group you can imagine, and everyone's like, hey, man, Karan really put Disney in their place. And it's like every week, Godard really showed them. It's like, it's stupid. Like, I really hate it. Like, you're not showing how cool you are because you hate the big blockbuster. It's like, it's really lame and predictable for a big director, frankly. So this was interesting about The Mandalorian. I am going to review the new Mandalorian at the end of the show before questions. But apparently Pedro Pascal is not in the Mandalorian armor as much as you might think. Brandon Wayne, who is John Wayne's great-great-grandson, I believe, and Lateef Chowder, that seems like I misspelled that, but I don't know, are going to be are the ones in the suit. And then later, Pedro Pascal dubs the voice over, which is similar to what happens with Darth Vader. I think that is kind of interesting, frankly. I didn't know that was going on. But it's also interesting that John Wayne's, grandson or whatever is in a Western show. But John Wayne's son actually did Western stuff, so it's actually not as crazy as it's like a family business, really. But I think that's kind of cool that John Wayne's grandson is the Mandalorian. And apparently he was definitely in the suit all of Chapter 5, which Bryce Dallas Howard kind of revealed. Some people are going on Twitter figuring out and revealing who is in the suit in each chapter. But apparently they switch off a lot, but Brandon Wayne apparently was in it the entire time of Chapter 5. So we can't say, hey, Pedro... I think I've said in reviews, Pedro Pascal does an interesting physical performance, but I was full of shit. Another Star Wars thing, so apparently this is a rumor, but Chowder, you take the moon. That's funny. This is a rumor that there's going to be a Dr. Aphra, Aphra, I hope I got that right, show that will be a kind of a cross between Marvel and Lucasfilm together making this show, and it's supposed to go on Disney+. No one's sure if it is going to happen. Apparently she worked for Darth Vader and she's like a lesbian and stuff. I don't know anything about her, but it is probably the first. So this kind of made me think about this whole thing with the expanded universe, because it would really be the first cartoon, the first adaptation of anything Star Wars that was, not developed specifically to be a movie in the show. Most of their stuff is developed, through a director or a writer or something, and not like adapted from a previous Star Wars material. And I know Kathleen Kennedy got a lot of shit for basically saying like, oh, we don't adapt from books. And people are like, what about the expanded universe? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, look at the history of Star Wars movies, bro. Like, that's how it actually works. Like, I never understood that argument. It was a weird argument, because it's just like, yes, she knows there's fucking Star Wars books. She has to sign off on them, but no Star Wars movie's been adapted from the book. But, so hearing about this rumored show, which may or may not happen, we'll see. But it sounds like it could be a cool thing. Everyone's saying crazy Darth Vader chick. But I think it could be cool if, much like what DC does with their animated stuff, where they take a comic like Batman Year One or, Killing Joke, that didn't work out. But, various other comics and make it into an animated film. why not do that with some of the old Expanded Universe books? And maybe you could get most of the actors back. If you couldn't get Harrison Ford, I hear there's this guy in the Solo movie who would probably do it. And you could do the Timothy Zahn books. You could do Splinter in the Mind's Eye. You could do like all the cool Star Wars books and comics that like you're probably not going to make a movie out of, and then put that on Disney Plus. If I heard the Timothy Zahn books were being made into animated films and they're going to be on Disney Plus, I would be freaking out. So I think that could be really. I was just thinking that would be a really cool idea. I think they should do that. Just kind of an idea that came to me today, and I was like, why don't they do that? But we'll see. That is very much everyone who's reported the Dr. Aphra thing has said that is a rumor, so I just want to specify that. J.J. Abrams said two things that were sort of interesting. One, he said that the moments on he said he liked parts of Last Jedi, but it was too meta for most audiences or whatever. But he said he's good at beginnings and not endings. And damn, I would agree. I'm glad he's aware of that. It makes me worried about the movie I'm going to see on Thursday. And then he also said that apparently he actually did, and this I found surprising, he did say something to Disney about releasing the theatrical cuts. And wanted to, actually did talk to them about it, and he said, like, it's out of my hands, it's above my pay grade. And I'm like, you're J.J. fucking Abrams. Like, wow, what is going on at this company that they can't release these theatrical cuts? Like, if your big guy who did 2 of your Star Wars movies, like, hey, can we do that? And they're like, oh, you wouldn't, giving you long explanations. Like, what kind of nonsense? Did Lucas make them sign something? Like, if they did, his McClunky ass totally would, wouldn't it? It just makes sense. But I think... Anyway, let me get some water, and then I want to talk about some In Memoriam right now. On Sunday, obviously we lost Caroll Spinney, who played Big Bird for most of the 50 years that Sesame Street has been on TV. And Caroll Spinney, to me, was always a great actor. Created probably one of the greatest characters that television has ever had. Was able to make Sesame Street into what it was. Big Bird isn't really the biggest part of Sesame Street now, since Elmo started taking over. But for most of its life, Big Bird was. And I think Caroll Spinney made, like I said on Twitter, Caroll Spinney gave Big Bird a soul. He gave Big Bird a wonderful kind of innocence to him, but also a presence where you just want to follow. And I just love what Caroll Spinney did with that character. I kept watching and crying at the Caroll Spinney singing It's Not Easy Being Green over and over again. And I found that to be, I don't know, I think that's the most touching way you could see that. I don't know what I could really say about Caroll Spinney, other, he was the star of the first movie I ever saw in theaters. He helped teach me the ABCs, and now he's helping teach my daughter the ABCs. And it's just sad to see someone with probably one of the greatest impacts in all of TV and film for doing that. Ryan's right. Matt Vogel and Eric Jacobson do deserve a lot of credit for continuing Big Bird, and I think Big Bird will continue to live on, and that will really be Caroll Spinney's legacy. Also, and I really feel like I'm going to mess up this last name, and I apologize, Rene Auberjonois, I think, sorry, who I mostly know from Deep Space Nine, which I did watch when it premiered, but I haven't watched in a long time. He also died on Sunday. I think Caroll Spinney was such a large death, it kind of definitely overshadowed him, unfortunately. I'm sure Ryan's going to be like, you definitely messed up his name. But he deserves a lot of... I mean, he had an amazing career, and I didn't realize he was also in MASH and had this great... Like, I didn't realize how many things I'd actually seen him in until he died, which shows a real great character actor that he really... Auberjonois. Oh, okay. Rene Auberjonois. Thank you. I think I got that right. But he was a great character actor because he could disappear in so many roles and was a part of so many big production and was a part of so many big productions and was able to be memorable parts when people were like, oh, he was in MASH, oh, he was in this movie, oh, he was in Deep Space Nine. You instantly knew what he was doing, and yeah. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, you instantly knew he was a really good, an actor. And finally, and I think this is everyone, sadly, Danny Aiello died, and that was really sad. He was a really great actor. I think he was, I don't know, from Moonstruck to Do the Right Thing to all his great performances. I think he was really an outstanding person. And I never met him, but I always heard like, oh well, Danny, like everyone talks so highly of him. He was a really highly, he was a really well thought of actor for the most part. But yeah. Alright, so next up, sorry. Now let's talk about the Playmobil movie, which had some, first you're like, you talked about it last week, what did it, like, bomb more? It actually did, believe it or not. Everyone thought it was going to make 800,000. It made 600,000, which was way worse. Oh, hold on, we have a super chat. Jim, this guy won't stop spamming. Don't worry, I have taken him off again. Thank you, Zane Powers, for the super chat. I'm sorry, I'm trying to take care of it and do the show. It's a little difficult. I apologize for that. But anyway, cheers to you for the super chat. Anyway, thank you, Zane Powers. And apologies that he's being stupid. He should maybe just go away at this point. Oh, I didn't know that. That's an interesting. Okay, on a later note, fun fact: this is from Ryan Walterson. The only Frank Oz Muppet character that Eric Jacobson does not perform is Cookie Monster. He's performed by David Rudman, who also plays Baby Bear. Didn't know that. Oh, I also kind of found it interesting. As much as we're talking about Caroll Spinney, he also was Oscar. I feel like we were just talking about Big Bird, and that's pretty much who we all think of. But he was also Oscar the Grouch, which is interesting. The different kind of roles he played, which are polar opposites of one another. Didn't he play? I thought he played. Did I get that right? I think I did. All right, so moving on to Playmobil. One of the more interesting things about this whole Playmobil mess is this. Austin, thank you for saying Oscar. Is that apparently Playmobil tickets were $5. It's this thing called variable ticket pricing, which a lot of studios want to do and keep talking about doing, and talking about who wants to do the experiment of being kind of variable ticket prices. And the interesting thing is they did this with Playmobil, but didn't advertise it. Like, I never saw advertisements that Playmobil was $5 tickets. And I think it is interesting that they did it with that, but like, why? And like, why are they saying that after it bombed? And I'm also curious, like, how many people saw the $5 tickets? So how much would it actually have been if they hadn't had the $5 tickets? Like, how much did that affect box office? Did that not really work? I actually think a better way to do it is be like, hey, do you want to see Jumanji 2 this week after Christmas? Because the other thing is there are less discount theaters. There used to be $1 theaters or $2 theaters. That's pretty much gone. There used to be more matinees. They've kind of gotten rid of that. I think they should just keep that kind of stuff up. I think that would probably help movie going, but like the Playmobil movie, such a weird time to do it. So Paul McCartney is going to be making an animated film at Netflix. He's been trying to get this thing done forever, but apparently it's going to happen at Netflix. It sounds kind of cool. We'll see if that is what's going to happen. I keep hearing, because Kevin Feige was at the big Brazilian, I think it was MXPX, I think it's called, that the multiverse is going to be the next big thing for the MCU, particularly with the Scarlet Witch and Vision show and Doctor Strange. A lot of people imagine that Peter Parker is going to go through that and then just be controlled by Sony. I don't think there's a plan like that, but we'll see if that is true. I have a fun chat. I should just call it that, maybe. I have a super chat from Niju Kichu. Fun fact, Darth Vader has a palace that's surrounded by lava. It also has no furniture because he can't sit down. He does not have art of his home. He does have art of his home planet, though. Didn't know that. Anyway, thank you for the super chat. I think the first time we saw that in the movie, although it had been written about, was in Rogue One. And it looks damn cool. It's a weird planet. So a couple people have brought this up in the chat I've seen. And I was going to talk about it. Hold on. Okay, so Sony bought Silvergate, who controls Hilda, who makes Hilda, and also as well makes Sunny Day, which, you know, my daughter watches. So basically, what does this mean for Silvergate and what's going to happen? Supposedly, they're not going to do anything with Hilda. I mean, they're going to continue making Hilda, and I think they've contracted a couple seasons with Netflix. But here's the thing about Sony and Paramount and all these studios: they are sitting the streaming wars out. But what they're doing is they're making money off of all the streaming services and all the content that they make. So the whole idea that Silvergate, Sony is buying them because they're like, hey, you make content for all these people, we kind of want that. So, yeah. Anyway, I don't think you should really be worried. There's no reports that said it should be worried. It's more just like they want more of these TV divisions that make things for streaming services because that's how they're going to make their money. They're, you know, as much as like Crackle's not a real, you know, a streaming service to the level that Netflix and HBO Max, even though that's Sony's streaming service. But I think they really want to, you know, just have another animation studio that's hot, and it was just a buyout thing. But there's been no reports of anything massively changing. It sounds like Hilda is fine, everything else is fine. Just Sony wants more piece of more of a pie that they can make money off of since they're not having a streaming service. So, films that were selected for the Library of Congress. This is kind of a big cinephile thing for me every year. They usually pick some cool movies, and it's a cool reason to see a few movies if you haven't that are on here. I just wanted to list a few off. They did pick a lot of female filmmakers and a lot of films I hadn't seen, so I do need to see those, and I would like to see those, and I'm glad that they're putting them in here. But here's some films that they put on. The big one was Clerks. Clerks is in the Library of Congress. Crazy. The other one, which apparently Clerks gets in pretty quickly, but Sleeping Beauty finally got in, which is crazy because that's such a gorgeous film. I'm not sure why they waited so long. Purple Rain, Coal Miner's Daughter, She's Gotta Have It from Spike Lee, Real Women Have Curves, Platoon, Old Yeller, The Last Waltz, Gaslight, which makes sense because everyone's heard of it, The Fog of War, which is one of the greatest documentaries ever. Then some old kind of film, classic, you know, early film stuff like Immigrants Landing at Ellis Island in 1903. Oh, also Boys Don't Cry and Amadeus, which is probably, if not the greatest 80s film, one of the greatest. And The Employee's Entrance thing, which is an early Lumiere's thing. So check out that list. They have some good, interesting stuff in that. And it's always cool to see what the Library of Congress puts in there. So the Home Alone remake has casted what's going to happen. Home Alone remake has set its cast. Archie Yates, who is the funny kid in who is the funny kid in Jojo Rabbit. He was the funny kid in Jojo Rabbit, who was not the main kid. But he was like the kid with the glasses who was kind of the standout. He is going to be I guess he's not Macaulay Culkin, but he's the kind of I guess other person. And sorry, hold on. Alright. Yeah, Archie Yates, he's the kid with the glasses who's like, it's not very good to be a Nazi right now and stuff. He is going to be, he's going to be the main kid in it. Ellie Kemper is going to be the mom, and Rob Delaney, who was on Catastrophe and had a small role in Deadpool 2, is going to be the dad. And that's all we know right now. Apparently he's going to be at a couple getting something back from the kid who's played by Archie Yates. I think it's a good role for him because he was a standout and people wanted to do that. Thank you, Niji Kiju. I still want my version of Home Alone. There's still rumors that the idea that I think I told you about before, that Biff is going to be playing a cop. Not Biff. Oh my god. What's his name? It's not Biff. It's whatever. The older brother who's now in a lot of indie movies, that he would be a cop in it, and Macaulay Culkin would run a home security thing and advise the kid. That apparently we have not got official confirmation on, and we're not sure if they're going to be cast, but I hope that happens. Anyway, but that's what's going on with that. It is going to be on Disney+. Ethan Hawke actually did a cameo for his Purge role on the Purge TV show, which apparently has a season 2. Didn't know that. I love the Purge movies. I didn't get to see any of the Purge TV show, but his character had a cameo in, I think, episode 8 or something of the new season. So the long talked about... Oh, we're just going to be hitting a bunch of stuff here. The long talked about John Belushi biopic has casted its lead. It's Alec Brightman, who's currently playing Beetlejuice on Broadway. It sounds like this is moving forward. It's got permission of his widow and Dan Aykroyd and all this stuff. And I've heard Beetlejuice on Broadway is good. I don't have that kind of money to do or time to go see Beetlejuice on Broadway, but it sounds like this is something that people who know him are fond of, and they like his casting. So cool. To me, I've seen him in interviews and stuff like that. He seems like a good choice, so I'm fine with that. The In the Heights trailer I thought actually looked pretty cool. I do not know that musical other than on TV ads for it when it was on, and I like the Hamilton and stuff. It looked like a lot of fun. I've heard some people who saw it on Broadway really liked the trailer. Some people didn't. I'm curious why he chose to do this before Hamilton came to the big screen, but that'll be a big event whenever that happens. But In the Heights, it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm excited for it. It's by the director of Crazy Rich Asians, who also did, I believe, both of those Justin Bieber documentaries. So I don't know, but it looks like a lot of fun, and I thought he was really good at directing Crazy Rich Asians with kind of the excess of it and really showing off. Doing kind of. You could tell he could direct a musical, but he also, did do music documentaries, so I guess he can do that. All right, so where are we on this? Oh, we're getting towards... Okay, we're getting towards the... All right, so Pendleton Ward is working on a CatBug show. It's a spinoff from Bravest Warriors. I think Austin has been tried to get me to talk about this last week. I don't know why I didn't, because it is actually a show that Pendleton Ward is working on developing. It doesn't seem like he's just like, yeah, sure, whatever. It sounds like he's actively developing everything from what I can hear, which is a big deal. We should really be talking about, hey, Pendleton Ward is working on a new show, and the fact that it's a Bravest Warriors spinoff, I think, is really interesting. I'm curious. Oh, yeah, it is the director of Gem and the Holograms. Oh, jeez. Not as... Does Lin-Manuel know that has he seen Gem and the Holograms? Maybe I should... If I knew him, I'd be like, dude, I think you fucked up. Anyway, yes, so the Catbird spinoff is being developed by Pendleton Ward with Frederator, who obviously I am down with Frederator. But I know very little about this Catbug thing, but the idea that Pendleton Ward is working on a show is a big deal, and he hasn't really been that active, even in the end of Adventure Time. So I'm excited for this, actually, now that I read that Pendleton Ward is so involved. So thank you, Austin, for bringing that to my attention. Okay, so Jack Black keeps saying he's retiring, but it's sort of like, well, if I have this right role, and like, I'm sort of thinking of scaling things down. I think that's sad. I really like Jack Black, but I sort of get it. He's kind of had his time in the sun, and he's become a really great supporting actor. He's wonderful in the first Jumanji, the second Jumanji, whatever the first one he was in. And I'm sure he's wonderful in the new one. I think he's a great actor. I just hope he gets more fun roles that he likes to be in, and I will be sad to see him go. Let's see. So the Promising Young Woman trailer, amazing concept of this woman who pretends to be drunk and has nice guys take her home. Awesome. I love that trailer. And then like confronts them about like, you know, how they're not really nice guys, and you know that they tried to like take advantage of her and stuff like that. I'm just going to talk about two. You know what? I'm going to take a break because I think Sophie might have woken up, and I will be right back, and then we'll finish up and then do a Mandalorian thing. So I will be right back. Sorry about the break. Hold on. All right. Oh, why did it get out of focus? All of a sudden. That's weird that it did that. I'm sorry about that. All right. Are we still there? That's weird that it was out. Let me check that it's okay. We're in focus now. That was weird that it was. I mean, you know. Anyway, Sophie's fine. It just sounded like she has a bit of a cough, and I was worried, but she's still asleep. All right. So, all right. Where were we? Sorry about that. But anyway, thank you all for being so patient. So Jack Black said he was retiring. I don't really want him to. He also said he doesn't remember making The Holiday, but can you blame him? Who does Sophie think shot first? She just says McClunky. I don't get it. Yeah, the out of focus thing, that was weird. I hope that looked cool. Anyway, yeah, he says he's sort of retiring. I don't know. I feel like he'll still be around, but maybe he won't. You know, him coming back into bigger things more recently, but I will be sad when he's gone. Even though I just talked shit about Cartoon Brew, they had a good article that was 6 indie theatrical films that we should consider kind of for Oscar time. There are films like Away that Will has mentioned on this show and other people, so I would go to that article. It's actually worthwhile to discover more animated films that are smaller, which deserve more attention. I know we keep talking about the bigger stuff, but there's a lot more smaller animation going on than any of us get to really report, so please check that out. I actually recommend it. Apparently, Benioff and Weiss are doing a Lovecraft movie, despite the fact that they have their Netflix deal. Like, I really don't understand how their shit works and how it's acceptable for them to make, like, $100 million deal and then do these other movies. It's sort of weird. Anyway, oh, there's Will. Rick, director of Dope, whose name I can never get right, is working with Keanu Reeves on a superhero project at the moment known as Past Midnight. That's actually interesting. Thank you for telling me that. Thank you for the super chat, Will. I mean, yes, Sudden Grinder, Norm of the North is the worst. Anyway, thank you for the super chat. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Thank you for telling us about that. But yes, I don't understand Benioff and Weiss. It just seems like they just go after deals and they're like, look how big we are. And I'm like, fucking make something. Like, I'm so sick of hearing them announce projects. And then, like, Netflix must be like, I thought Star Wars was over and you're too busy and now you're doing this. Like, it's so weird. Okay, so next thing. I've heard a rumor through a lot of things that they are developing new Mad Max stuff. And one of them might be a Furiosa movie. And I've heard Jodie Comer, who was on, damn it, what's that show with the spies and Sandra Oh's on it? Whatever. Apparently, the rumor is they're very much considering her for Furiosa. It might not be, it might not be Charlize. It might not be Charlize Theron. As originally reported. I think it'll probably be it might not be Charlize Theron as originally reported because she might not be as interested. They might not want to do a prequel, but that's the rumor. Is the Furiosa rumor is in development. So before we get to Mandalorian Chapter 6, I wanted to talk about Promare and the cheer screening things. And although I am lagging. Am I lagging? Oh. I am lagging a little bit. I'm sorry about that. I don't think it's my end. It's actually, I think it's a YouTube-y thing, to be honest with you. But anyway, I apologize for that. I should be... yeah, it might be my internet. That is weird because there's not really anyone here and everything's. Maybe I'll turn. Okay, that on airplane. I don't know what. I don't really want to disconnect my Wi-Fi right now. But that sort of sucks. Anyway, I will try to talk about this and. Huh, I wonder why that is. Oh, now it says it's fixing itself. Anyway. Alright, so the Promare, alright, so the Promare cheer screening thing. I've kind of wanted to talk about how anime is released in America for a while, and how Funimation and G-Kids and all these people do this thing where they release a film for one night to kind of make it an event and make lots of people show up and give it a huge per screen average. And it usually financially it works out a lot better than what previously they were doing when they'd release things, give it a limited release. And to be honest, no one would go to that at all. So they did this because they knew more people would show up. The problem with that, and how this cheer screening plays into that, is you don't give people a lot of access to these screenings. They're like at certain times. They don't do a lot of them. And if someone's a jackass in them, you miss the movie until it comes out. Like, Promare doesn't come out on Blu-ray till February. So, like, I don't know if it's on digital right now. I didn't actually check. I should have checked that. But the point is like, people, this is a big deal, and you're not giving them a lot of access, and especially if it sells out in their small town or something. So I really don't like how anime is released that way. I get that, like, you're appealing directly to the fan base and no one else, but I feel like we shouldn't be doing that. We should be opening up more avenues for people to see stuff and not less. And I sort of like am against that because it feels especially like gatekeepy and weird, and I do not appreciate that, to be honest with you. I hope that they will be able to do more with that and release them. And like, maybe, I know in some of these cases they give it a limited release and do the big one night things, but it's just like, if anything were to happen at those screenings, they just give, like, they just give you your money back, but then you miss the movie. It's not like if you miss a screening of Richard Jewell or something, you'd be like, oh, well, we'll come back Tuesday. Like, you're just fucked. And I feel like there's too much you're hurting by doing that. Now, financially, I get it, but I kind of wish there were a better way to do it, because I feel like we're holding anime back, because there are people who just go to the movies just to see what's out. And if anime was there, we'd have people discovering these new things. But we're not turning new people on through these screenings. We're just exciting a fan base. And I guess that's 2019, and I get it. But at the same time, like, you know, especially people are going to be doing these cheer screening things. I think that's bullshit. I couldn't actually find much about cheer screenings on the internet and the history of them, oddly. But it does seem like apparently in Japan, when they do them, you're on the understanding that you're doing them, much like when you see Rocky Horror or something. I don't think very many people still do Rocky Horror, but when they do, they let them do that. So I kind of don't like that they're doing cheer screenings. I don't like that people are acting up at these screenings. And I don't like that the fact of the matter is you have no other options. And you should let people have other options, because it's just hurting, it's hurting that these releases far too much, and we shouldn't be doing that. Animation needs more options and not less, especially when we're having more releases and we have more open up stuff. And I hope that they are able to cut the difference a little, because like when I saw Ghost in the Shell, I saw it in the theater. So I think you should, you know, to me that was a big deal, but also no one was there. So I understand why we're at where we are, but I would say if you're going into these screenings, please just like behave yourself, because it's extra important that you shut the fuck up, because they have no other option. And it puts that pressure on them to definitely make that happen. I see a lot of people talking about the Cartoon Network Hotel. I've talked about it a few times. I know it's opening in January. I've always had this vision that like the whole cartoon community would go, and it would, the only kid that would be there among like this huge group of people in their 20s and 30s would be Sophie. And it would just be this group of like adults with this little kid. And honestly, I don't think she's like sort of into some of the Cartoon Network stuff, but not enough that we would go there. And I don't think I'll ever go there, but it is exciting, isn't it? Maybe at some point. I mean, if it was near MomoCon or MomoCon moved there, maybe. But anyway, let me get some water. So Mandalorian. Do Mandalorian, then questions, by the way. Mandalorian Episode 5, or Chapter 6, sorry. Okay. Whoa. Alright, so I watched Mandalorian Chapter 6. It is on Disney+. This is the director of Dope again. We all have returning directors for the rest. Deborah Chow and Taika Waititi is doing the last one. I should mention as well, the next Mandalorian comes out on a Wednesday, not on a Friday. I'm assuming not to kind of get swallowed up by Rise of the Skywalker or compete with it. I like that the chat's so into this Cartoon Network Hotel thing. I mean, I just want to go, is there a problem solvers room, or maybe a breakfast nook for the problem solvers? I think that would be the best thing to be in. I would definitely go into the problem solvers room, or you know, the symbiotic Titan cry room for Nolan or something. I don't know. Anyway, sorry, Nolan. Anyway, so Chapter 6 of The Mandalorian. What I really like about this show is it's basically a Western show from the 70s, but with Star Wars characters, and I like how nostalgic it is for that time, but like in a sort of natural way. It does kind of feel like simplistically like these cool adventures, but this is an odd one, because it felt very cinematic, but also felt like very much a TV episode. Like he meets up with these mercenaries, you know, you have these kind of cool people of the week and everything like that, and you know the Mandalorian's going to be awesome and find an awesome way to get out of it. But it was still really good and compelling, and it was fun, and seeing like Bill Burr in that, seeing I think that's his name, right? Seeing all the I was fine with the girl, but she was a little weird. Seeing like kind of characters who look like they're from the 1977 film, seeing everything like that, I thought was really cool. And seeing them going on this mission that was pretty much doomed from the start, felt like an old Western show. It felt like an old samurai show. It felt like a mission show from the 70s, and that vibe was very much a part of it. This probably felt more like a TV episode than any of the other. I mean, they're all TV episodes, but like felt more influenced by TV episodes than the other ones had. They felt more like influenced by movies. And it feels like specifically the last one and this one, which, by the way, this one and the last two were not written by Jon Favreau, so maybe that's the difference. Is Favreau wrote these like separately and like didn't know if they were gonna actually be made and kind of had a lot of fun with it. And then these last two were not written by him and clearly were written as like, hey, we need 2 TV episodes. So I'm curious if that really changed the flow of it. At the end, there's 3 X-Wing fighters, and they're played by the 3 directors. Dave Filoni's there, Deborah Chow, and the director of this, who directed Dope. Which I thought was kind of fun. I like this episode. It is a fun, isolated, kind of good episode of TV, and it continues to be like a fun Western show. I think that's probably what works about it. There's almost not too much you want to say about this episode that I haven't said before, other than I thought that this episode worked best as an episode of TV, and I thought remarkably well. It's kind of almost like such a procedural show at some points. It does it in a way where you kind of like take it for granted, but I also have to say there's a lot of genius going on there. It's slowly maybe becoming I kind of almost wanted someone to make like the best pieces of content, of Star Wars content that have been made since Disney bought Star Wars. And I don't know if this would be at the very top, but it would definitely be like top 5 or top 3 for me. And it's because it like gets Star Wars so well, but it gets all the influences so well. And I thought like the only thing when I saw Last Jedi do that, I'm like, oh, you understand the influences of Star Wars, which I really like, the Kurosawa and the Western stuff. And Mandalorian does it on such a perfect level. It feels like it's just a part of that tradition, which I quite like. But I thought it was interesting, like going on the ship, freeing going on this mission that has no end to it, having not a ton of Baby Yoda. This is much more of a Mandalorian episode or a Mando episode than a Baby Yoda episode. But I thought like them going through the ship and finding their way out of it and going on this mission and having Richard Ayoade in here from the IT crowd. Which I thought was pretty cool. I thought I liked him in it. I didn't recognize him at first, but I was like, where do I know him from? I couldn't place it, and then I was like, oh, that's who it was. I thought it had a cool group of characters. It was a very colorful, awesome episode of television. And I thought they did a great job with it. I continue to be just impressed and amazed by this like awesome, very fine Western show. And it's kind of funny because I think if you made a cowboy show like this, people would be like, whatever. And, but since they made a Star Wars show like a Western show, everyone was happy about it. So I think that's probably telling about 2019. But it's so excellent at it, I sort of don't mind. I don't mind that it's appealing to my nostalgia so perfectly, because I'm just so happy with it, and I continue to be happy and excited to watch it. And as much as I'm like, oh, I gotta watch a Mandalorian, because I want to talk about it on the stream, and I don't want people to reference it, and then I watch it, and each one I'm like, oh my god, that was amazing, that was so cool, this is awesome, I love it. And I'm just like always so happy with this show. It's like, I know it's like no one's talking about shit from Disney Plus but this show, but the show is like good enough to pay for Disney Plus for me. I know I'm glowing over this show, but I think, I like this episode with each is like these isolated tales, but this one works so well and was like sounding like a perfectly fun written one. But I am noticing that most of the themes of all this is, man, the Mandalorian's so awesome. How's his awesome ass going to get out of this? By being awesome again. But I'm sort of fine watching him be awesome, frankly, so I'm totally okay with that. Alright. Okay. So let's answer some questions, but I'm doing Patreon first, and then I'll move on to the chat. I'm going to have some Red Bull to keep myself going. It's been a long day. Anyway, so I'm going to do the 2 Patreon, then questions in the chat. So get your questions ready. So William Ellman from Patreon said, what is your favorite Federico Fellini film that isn't 8.5? Also, what is your favorite Jean-Luc Godard film that isn't Breathless? I would say La Dolce Vita and Alphaville. I'm going to go, my favorite Godard is Band of Outsiders, which I think is great. I'm surprised hipsters didn't freak out about. Like, I really, when I saw it, I was like, how is half of Williamsburg not watching Band of Outsiders? I never understood that. Fellini, I would also go with La Dolce Vita. That's one, I haven't seen as much as I'd like. I need to see Knights of Cabrini and stuff like that. But a lot of people say Armourcord, and that never struck me as much. But La Dolce Vita definitely. So I'd say La Dolce Vita and Band of Outsiders. But his 3D one blew me away. One of the most crazy theater experiences I've ever had. All right, so Will, not Will Ellman, but the Will whose last name I should learn to say better. Said, with 6 Underground being released on Netflix yesterday, do you think Michael Bay has achieved the plane where, despite reaction, he can make pretty much whatever he wants now, like creating more or less high-octane, crazy 2-hour, idiosyncratic, big-budget movie trailers where he can try out and pioneer potential technologies? Also, review when the new film is actually really fascinating to talk about. I was debating on 6 Underground. I haven't gotten a ton of interest, so please tell me in the chat if you want me to talk about 6 Underground. I'm not sure if I will, but it's on Netflix, so maybe I will. I do think Michael Bay is moving in that direction, but he seems to sort of be able to, he's been forced to make Transformers movies, but it does seem like he sort of gets to do what he wants anyway. So I don't think it's like Sandler where he was shamed out of Hollywood, but I feel like I'm surprised the studio didn't make this, because it looks to me like something that would make like $200 million, just on the trailers and stuff. But I probably will see it, but I'm not in a huge rush. But I don't know if you guys are as into it, so please, people in the chat, please let me know about that. But it is interesting that you bring it up. I've heard people say it's Team America without the satire, so I am a little interested. All right, so let's do... Okay, let's start with Cornbread. Fun fact, the Game Awards that just happened on the 12th was supposed to have something for the Sonic movie. Paramount pulled out last minute. Didn't know that. I could make a joke there. I'm just going to leave it. All right, question. Major Mekazawa, brief thoughts on Stanley Kubrick's pre-Doctor Strangelove films. Killer's Kiss is a great movie to watch. It's not a great movie, but it's great to learn about filmmaking. The Killing, I think, is good. Is really good. Lolita is excellent. Paths of Glory. Probably leaving something out, but though I'd say Killer's Kiss is the one nobody talks about. You should definitely check that out. It's an interesting one. Disco Spider, do you think a Nightfall animated miniseries for older audiences could work? Yeah, I think it could. I don't know if they'll do it, but I think that would be a cool idea. Question: how much is that doggy in the window for Ryan Walterson? $27.33. Zane Powers, where was Monster Trucks in the list of movies added to the Congressional Library? I did notice a lot of people were bringing that up to me, saying that in the chat. I think the problem is Monster Trucks is too new. You have to be a little older. So Monster Trucks hasn't made the availability yet, but I've heard rumors that they're after the Creech cut, so it could happen. Release the Creech cut. Forget the Snyder cut. That's what I say. Start that hashtag on Twitter right now. Don't. People will come after you. Please, guys, don't do that. I'm worried about you. But you can keep doing the Creech cut thing. That's good. Question, how would you describe this year for you? From Nathaniel Fogel. Or Foga. Foga? Anyway, sorry. I would go, But this show, I would say, in terms of my channel, actually, I would say, as life and stuff, I go, there's a lot of ups and downs. But in terms of this channel, I feel like I've grown more than I ever have, and it's been a really wonderful year. So in that terms, I think it's actually been great. Niji question, were you able to watch the SpongeBob musical? No, I wasn't. Also, the stage play is on a national tour right now. Didn't know that, but that's interesting. I should do that. Jacob's Shelter, I think. Question, next guest on the Pizza Party podcast. I don't know, but I think... Oh, I lost my place. I never have any ideas, and I do get asked, but I guess I got Ian on, so... I don't know. There's some people maybe I would want, but I'm kind of been happy with who we've gotten. I missed out, became a fan of Quentin Reviews and Defunctland after they were on, and but that's a personal regret. That's no one else's fault but mine. Question, besides heavy metal, what non-Ralph Bakshi Adam adult animations deserve all the praise? Don Hertzfeld, probably. The Illusionist from this year, definitely. Margie Rabbit, do you remember the subscriber milestone drawings I did for you when you reach... I do remember that. 500, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 subs. I'm going to do one for you reaching 12,000 subs. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's kind of odd when I hit these things because I hit them and then YouTube's like, oh, well, actually, a lot of these things are dead. So then I go down and I go back. But thank you for doing that. That'd be really cool. And what was the drawing from last time? I didn't see what you did with that. So please... let me know. Unless you're embarrassed of it, it's fine. I don't want to push you if you don't want to. I'm sorry if that is the case. Question, what do you think of Monty Python, the show and the films? The best one for me is still Holy Grail. I know it's not the coolest thing to say. Everyone goes Life of Brian. I'm more of a Holy Grail guy. I love Flying Circus. It's wonderful. I like Life of Brian. I even like Meaning of Life, even though I rewatch it. It's like not good at all. Austin, question. That was Major Mekazawa, the last one. And thank you, by the way, for doing a subscriber thing. I think that would be cool. I would appreciate that. I would like to post that everywhere. So please let me know when you do that. Question from Austin. Thoughts on if the Muppets hosted the Oscars, Swedish Chef gives best foreign film? That would be offensive. But I've seen William Bibiani post that, and I agree. I think that's the best thing to do. And it would actually make it... Thing about the Oscars is so, like, kind of, like, movie-y and, like, kind of gatekeepy, and I think the Muppets would really open that up and make it more all-audience. I think that would be cool. I think they should do that, but I don't know if they will. Question from... Zane Powers, thoughts on the movies Milk Money, Junior, and Felix the Cat movie. Junior, I saw a long time ago. Don't really remember. Felix the Cat movie is great. I don't remember Milk Money. I don't know. Nijikichi, question, have you ever seen a Filipino movie? I want to say yes, but I can't come up with one, and I don't want to say one that's wrong, but I have a feeling I have. But I know I've actually done research for a Lost Film File about a Filipino Batman movie, which I need to do at some point. So I need to do more, and I probably should review some, but I can't think of any, and I don't want to give you a dumb answer. Not plausible, not really a question. There's this one YouTuber who just reviews the Garfield and Friends TV show, only gets 1,000 views a video despite having competing Wyan Duncan, I think. Okay, that's interesting. I'd check it out. I like Garfield and Friends. I'll read your thing because I know Adrian Sarah does this a lot, so I'll read it just because you do it so much. Why not? Jane thought she could have it all. Different night, different guy. She had them all, but oh, how lucky can change so quickly, because pretty soon she started feeling sickly. But when's the Joanna Man? I'm hoping soon. I don't know about before the end of the year. I wanted to, but life is crazy. Wait, where are we? Okay, question. So what are the pettiest reviews you've seen? Pettiest, probably something by Harry Knowles, although I think some of his reviews were decent, but I think most of his crap reviews is sort of his legacy, which is deserved considering the kind of person he is. I would say a lot of what Siskel and Ebert did to horror films in the 80s were pretty petty and pretty discriminatory, and I never appreciated that. That's kind of part of their legacy that I think stains it a lot more than anyone will really admit. And I do think a lot of that, like saying like anyone who enjoys this film is a disgusting person, and like, you know, that they get off on violence and stuff like that. I think that I've thought about doing a video about like all the damage they did to 80s horror when horror was kind of at this peak and they were so against it. Even though they did a lot of good in terms of getting the word out on foreign films and stuff, I just that actually I think I would do. Major Mekazawa, have you read any of the Boondocks comics? If I was in front of my bookshelf and I don't want to run out and get my treasury thing, but I've been reading Boondocks for a long time, or when it was around, and I really love the comic strip quite a bit, and I do have the collection of the era that I like the most, and I haven't read it in a little bit, but I loved the Boondocks comics, so I have read it, and I'm a big fan, actually. And so if I'm ever in front of the bookcase I'm shooting there, remind me and I'll pull it out. It's like right there. Have you ever read... Oh, sorry. Did that. Disco Spider, what are you getting Sophie for Christmas? Don't worry, we won't tell. Sorry, I play with rubber bands a lot in one flew out. I actually have a story about that. I'm going to tell, and then I'll do the rest of the questions. So we're getting her a lot of stuff. She got a Sunny Day doll from her grandparents. She's getting some Elsa stuff. But so today, I think I've said on Twitter, she's a big fan of The Princess and the Frog. And so I went to the Disney store in Times Square looking for a Tiana doll. And we'd found some on Amazon, but we couldn't find one that we really liked. And I thought, well, we'll go to the Disney store. And they actually usually have good pricing at the Disney store. So I went, and not only did they not have any Princess Tiana dolls, they had a lot of Lottie, who's her white friend, like a lot in the Princess and the Frog section, which I was like, this is, optics-wise, this is really bad. They had this one called an Animator's doll, which is just her as a young kid, but it's like way more expensive than just a regular sort of Barbie doll thing. And when I asked them if they had any Princess Tiana dolls. They said, I know this doesn't look good. We're sorry about the optics of this. They literally said that. And they went and tried to find one. They didn't have one. And they told me other places in the store to look. But I also noticed about the Disney store is that they have so much, Disney has so much IP now that they like literally, and this isn't even a joke, they literally like, what I liked about the Disney store is you could find stuffed animals of obscure characters, and like if you were just into one weird Disney movie, you could find some piece of merch from it. But now, because they have a section for the Disney Channel, they have a section for Spider-Man, they have a section for Marvel, they have a section for Star Wars, they have Frozen 2 as a section, this as a section. It just didn't feel like the same store, and I gotta say, it's like, I mean, a Disney store in Times Square during the holiday season is like a part of hell you don't know existed. But at the same point, it was like clearly had lost its charm, that whole store, which sucked. I was like, man, Disney, maybe you need a bigger store, or like, it used to be really cool. It'd be like all these different weird versions of Mickey or something. And it's like, seems like that is totally gone. It's just like, I don't know, we have too much, please help us. And they didn't have Princess Tiana, unless you bought like a crazy collection and stuff. But it was not great that they had the white girl from Princess and the Frog and not the main protagonist, but whatever. Alright, sorry, I meant to say that and I didn't. Anyway, what makes you lose respect in a reviewer of media, from Courtney? I would say going on a subject too far that I'm not really in on, or doing it too much. Sorry, I need some water. Like, I like Lindsay Ellis. I know everybody likes her, but at some point I'm like, I'm not as into Game of Thrones, I'm not as into Transformers, stuff like that. And like sometimes if you're just like not covering things I want to hear you talk about, which I think is something I think of as a reviewer, like I try to do things that like I think you as the audience would like, as well as stuff that I want to talk about. And I think there's a balance, and when people tip it too far, sometimes I get disinterested, and I think that can happen. Also, if they get too weird, too creepy, too onto a weird political thing I'm not interested in. But if they're so onto one topic, like you really have to be careful about just doing a ton of videos on one topic and not doing anything else, because like if you're not on board, your whole audience is on board, you're going to lose people because they're like, oh fuck, again, I'll just wait for the next one, and then the subscriber box will not do it and all that. So I would say that I don't know, lose respect, it's just like lose interest. But lose respect, I would say, like if they just have a really bad review on something that just like really misses the point. And maybe, I can't think of anyone I've done that for, but Harry Knowles, probably because of his behavior. I used to really like him when I was a kid, and he slowly lost respect for him because of his ego and learning everything that happened to him since then. St. Powers, have you ever killed a man? No, I have not, sorry. Question from Ryan, is it secret? Is it safe? Maybe. Question, if you can ask any director one question, who and what would it be? Wow. That's a big one. Probably be there's a classic Hollywood director I literally did a ton of reviews on and became sort of an expert in, William Wellman. And I would ask him first, why did you never make another film with James Cagney? Because Public Enemy is one of my favorite films of all time. And I never understood. They had such electricity together, and they never did it again. And I never got why they didn't. And how many projects they got close to working on together. And how many projects like he developed. And I know one was like a Public Enemy sequel at one point that then became a script for something else. So anyway, these is more than one question. But basically I would ask him a lot. Question, you think 1917 will be good, from Austin? Hopefully. I think it probably will be. Roger Deakins shooting it, looks like it will be good. Jacob Shelter, what do you like the most when you were at MomoCon? I like just hanging out with my friends, to be honest with you, and getting to meet people and meeting fans. And they're usually like big moments of my year that kind of shape that year, because it makes me really appreciate like what I'm doing and what the community I'm in, and hang out with people and meet people and connect. It's like it's overwhelming, frankly. But there's so many things. I just love it. I love doing that every year. It's one of my favorite things of the whole year. It was okay. Thank you, Maggie Rabbit. Question, what is your least favorite trope in television / movies? Maybe it's like least favorite trope. Actually, I was talking about recently I've noticed there's like this whole thing about like characters telling other characters, especially their wives, like why they cheated on them, and they're saying like, well, we didn't have sex for a year, so I was allowed to cheat. And I was like, why is that such a thing? I don't know. That's just been bugging me recently. I've noticed there's like a whole history of that, and I was like, why is that? Like, did someone tell people that was cool, or like there was a reason for that? I just find that like just like really blamey on women's bodies and everything. So anyway, I know that's like super woke of me or something, but that is one thing that's been bugging me lately. Do you think The Mandalorian is going to open the doors for other studios to make more spin-offs of popular movies? Yeah, but I think they also have to understand that the reason that worked is because it was so good. And I think they can do something with that, but we'll see if they do. Have you ever fallen asleep watching a movie? Oh yeah, I can't even tell you how many times. Not in the theater though. No comment. Major Mike Kazawa, are you excited for Koshiro Otomo's upcoming film Orbital Area? I don't know much about it, but I'm going to look at it now. See, Niji Kiju, you're pretty much the moderator. I will look into making you that next time. By the way, I will try to check out things. Is Baby Yoda Snoke? Maybe. I think I mentioned the 1970 thing. Will you dab? Why do people want me to dab? I find that to be lame. Do you think Princess and the Frog should get a live-action remake? I have heard it's a lot more popular than Disney even lets on and other people let on, but I would not like that to happen. That sounds awful. Like, just promote that movie more. I need to do a review of that at some point. Best and worst Kevin James movie. It begins and ends at Here Comes the Boom. That's all I'll say. I don't mind Paul Blart, the first one. Can you... haha, you're... Okay. Did I answer Sorry, I want to answer everybody's thing. Alright, so... I think I answered everybody. If there's ever a question I missed or you wanted to tell me something and I missed it, feel free to message me on one of the many platforms I'm on, and please do so, and then I will I will answer it. I'm not against that. Anyway, thank you guys very much for being on. Thank you for being so patient with me. Thank you for giving me this past year of movie prep. I will be back next week. I probably won't the week after that, so that'll be the last show of 2020, not the last show ever. Don't be thinking that. And thank you all very much for the support. Thank you guys for showing up, and I hope you all have a great night and have a great week. And I guess I will see you guys. I will see you guys next time. And subscribe if you would like to. Check out my reviews of I Lost My Body and of Knives Out. I will hopefully have more content next week. The next video will be the Mystery Science Theater reboot thing from last stream. I wanted to make it its own video, and there'll be a couple and then the Mandalorian, and then I'll actually have videos. I hope you're not annoyed by me doing the segment things as videos. But anyway, that's it. Have a good night, and subscribe if you would like to.